Promoters, here is a chance to boost your event or fete with MTV's irresistible television advertising specials. Book now and be wowed with party deals and good advertising coverage. Call our sales and marketing department on 440-8171 or via WhatsApp on 455-5718. You can also send an email at mtvmarketinggd@gmail.com. Terms and conditions apply.
CaribJet, the most experienced travel agency company in Grenada, serving our clients and businesses for over 40 years. IATA accredited, we issue tickets on 280 airlines, representatives for Condor, the German airlines, and main agents for Virgin, KLM and Air France. We're specialists to the Middle East. Walk in to our ticket office at Maurice Bishop Highway, call 439-4444, WhatsApp 534-7755 or visit caribjet.com.
Hello and welcome to the MTV Evening News for Monday, the 17th of April. The news headlines are coming to you in association with Quartz Grenada Limited.
It's all about the glam with stylish new frames from Quartz Optical. Shop today for up to 50% off and pay nothing for 30 days. Book now at www.quartzoptical.com. Get the look you want at the price you need. Plus, at Quartz Optical, our eye exams are always free. So what are you waiting for? Come down and get glam with up to 50% off selected frames. Quartz Optical, value you can see.
Welcome back. Coming up in the news this evening, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell highlights the need for a more serious approach to domestic violence. Health officials continue to report a significant surge in gastroenteritis cases. Next, New Dimensions are the 2023 Pan Expressions champions. And in sport, Grenada national women's cricket team, they have won the 2023 Windward Island T20 Challenge competition. We'll have details to those and other stories a look to at the public forecast information. When we return, stay with us.
The first segment of the MTV Evening News comes to you compliment Nexa Credit Union. With you wherever your road leads.
But when you need someone to help you to your feet, I'll be that beacon to your highest peak. I'll be right next to you, no, I will never leave. Come on, take my hands, we got everything we need. Cause you can look to me, yes, I can. Whenever you're in need, yes, you can. Just call on me and I'll be on my way. I'll be by your side, never to divide. The light that shines our way. Wherever you road leads, we'll make your dreams come true. Nexa, 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 right next to you.
Nexa Credit Union, with you wherever your road leads.
Good evening, I'm Tony Julian with the details. Speaking at the Symposium on Crime and Violence in the region, Prime Minister and Minister for National Security Deacon Mitchell highlighted the need for a more serious approach to domestic violence against women. Tonia St. Louis Lawrence begins this evening's news coverage with that story.
The symposium hosted by the government of Trinidad and Tobago focuses on violence as a health issue. The solution-oriented discussions are centered on the common social, economic, and security issues that the region faces with respect to crime and violence. Of concern to Prime Minister Mitchell is the tolerance of violence, which he believes can be categorized as a crime.
To a large extent, our societies, including our police, still tacitly treat domestic violence different to stranger on stranger violence. That the wife is told, you will make up, it's okay, we may take him in and then a month later you come and beg forgiveness. And so we tolerate the violence if it's in a domestic setting. We tolerate the violence if it's violence against children. And oftentimes we tolerate the violence if it's violence against marginalized or disadvantaged groups.
According to Prime Minister Mitchell, with violence becoming a normal accepted way of socializing, social media should be used to encourage behavioral change among young people.
And so to me, the use of social media has to be to encourage and reverse that cultural norm that it is okay to resolve conflicts. It is okay to pull social rank or status, particularly amongst young persons, by being violent. And I think, therefore, what we have to spend time on is content development developed by young persons. And we can use the creative economy as one approach to do that, arts, music, to re-engineer the behavior of the next generation of Caribbean citizens to say that there are alternatives to resolving conflict. There are alternatives to career paths that does not involve ultimately guns, drugs, and gangs.
The effects of COVID-19 on the youths of the region, Prime Minister Mitchell says, cannot be ignored.
Many of whom spent their entire time on social media during that period. It was perhaps the only escape, but the question is the escape into what? And in many instances, it has been an escape into mental illness. So I think from a public health perspective, that aspect also has to be looked at and addressed.
Regional prime ministers are calling for a unified region in the fight against crime, as the discussion on crime violence as a public health issue, the Crime Challenge, continues on Tuesday. Reporting for MTV News, I am Tonya St. Louis Lawrence.
Fire investigator at the Traffic Department, Adrian Panchu, says homeowners checking their electrical items before leaving home should be top priority. He highlighted ways individuals can prevent house fires from household appliances, as we now hear in this report.
There are simple steps individuals can take to minimize the risk of fire or electric shock when using appliances such as washing machine. Fire investigator attached to the Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force, Adrian Panchu, says one of the most effective ways in preventing house fires is the unplugging of all appliances when leaving your home.
Right? But the whole aspect of indoor, and one of the simple things together with lighters and matches, ensuring that these things are not within reach of children, is the whole aspect of checking your electrical equipment before leaving home, ensuring that these items are off. You're not using them, they're off. One of the piece of electrical appliance that I've seen cause a number of fires during my tenure, the past 3 years or so being a fire investigator, is that of electrical fans. Right? Electrical fans, some persons, they would turn off the fan by turning the switch to the back of it. So you have that switch behind, it has 3 settings, 0, 1, 2, 3. Right? So 0 is off, or 4 settings. Right? So they'll turn it off, they put it on 0. So the fan is not working. However, when you had the fan plugged in into that outlet, you did not take off that switch. So there are some outlets that actually don't have a switch, so once it's plugged in, electricity flows continuously. Those with the switch, you don't turn it off. So if you don't turn it off, the electricity will continue going to that fan.
Panchu said that electrical work should always be done by a certified technician.
A lot of times we think that we want to save money. So you know someone who did electronics, work along with an electrician, and instead of them getting the electrician to come and do the job, they come and they do it themselves. And sometimes you end up with a lot of problems with that, right? Because they're not certified. I normally say they can join wire, right? They're not sure about the load, and then you have different size of wires and different breakers and those things. All these things have to be taken into consideration. So you want to ensure that your electrical installation is done by a certified electrician.
Panchu also added that electrical installation should be upgraded after the stipulated time.
And as I spoke to numerous times before, the overloading of sockets can be caused by one item. If you buy a transformer that is a 1,000-watt transformer, and then you buy a piece of equipment that requires 1,200 watts, once you plug that item into that transformer, you overload the socket. So persons have to bear that in mind. So when you're going out to buy electrical appliances, these are the things that you need to bear in mind.
Well, it was a busy weekend indeed for the Royal Grenada Police Force Traffic Department as several accidents were recorded. MTV News, in fact, spoke with Constable Troy Paul on statistics in relation to these accidents and the extent of the impact, as we now hear.
A record-breaking number of accidents occurred over the weekend. Attached to the Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force, Troy Paul, says that close to 40 accidents were recorded over the weekend.
The weekend from the 14th to the 16th of April 2023 was a busy one for members of the Royal Grenada Police Force. We have seen a total of 39, and I want to emphasize 39 motor vehicle accidents occurring over that weekend period, which includes one serious. That is too many accidents for one weekend. It surpasses the weekend statistics.
According to Constable Paul, the number of accidents recorded is a serious concern for members of the Traffic Department. Constable Paul says all accidents are still under investigation. However, no serious injuries were recorded.
And I must say this is alarming for members of the Traffic Department. So Friday we had a total of 9. Saturday, Friday had a total of 9 minor. Saturday, 17 minor accidents were reported. And Sunday, we had 12 minor again with one serious. And I am here giving that information, and it is alarming to me. And I must appeal to the public that this is too many accidents over a weekend period. All those accidents are under investigation, as we know that police are still doing their investigation to determine the cause of the accidents, and information will be provided as soon as investigation is completed. In terms of injuries and so forth, this is only minor injuries the person sustained. The severity was to the damages of the vehicle in relation to the serious. There is no one who we know at the General Hospital or anybody who is admitted in relation to those accidents.
Constable Paul says that drinking and driving is one of the contributing factors leading to accidents.
But we must appeal to the public from the Traffic Department that drivers must be cautious while driving along the nation's road. You must take caution when driving both in the day and the night, or also during wet or rainy period. But we know that we had a busy weekend in terms of a show on Saturday, and we had a number of accidents around that time, surrounding that time. And we must let drivers know that fatigue driving results in accidents. If you come from a show or any long period of event and you have to drive home and you realize that you've been exhausted for the entire night, please take a rest before driving. Alcohol continues to be a contributing factor in relation to persons who've been to clubs and events and consume alcohol. We want to advise you that you should have a designated driver.
Health officials continue to report a significant surge in gastroenteritis cases across the island. They're therefore urging the public to practice hygienic measures to curb and prevent its spread. However, although many individuals continue to be affected, it has not led to an increase in hospitalization, as those affected appear to be recovering while at home. Let's get more from Troy Gill.
Acting Chief Medical Officer in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Sean Charles, provided an update on the outbreak of gastroenteritis or gastro cases on island. In an earlier government press briefing, Charles announced that there was a surge in cases across the island at unprecedented levels, and in a recent interview with MTV News, Charles revealed that the situation remains the same.
As it relates to acute gastroenteritis, the cases are still way above what the usual levels are or what our long-term average is. Our last reporting week was week 14, and we recorded 177 reported cases. On average, we should see maybe around 50, 55 cases for the most around that time. So those cases still remain above the the usual levels that we see.
Curbing the spread of the novel virus, which is the primary cause, is paramount, he says.
Hand washing, sanitization of hands, very important. Particular attention must be paid to the foods that one consumes and whatever liquids that one consumes. You have to ensure that foods are prepared under the right conditions and they're stored under the right temperatures and they are consumed in clean utensils. All right, so you have to ensure that hot things are kept hot, cold things are kept cold. The persons preparing meals must ensure that their hands are clean, that the surfaces on which foods are prepared are cleaned to ensure that there is no contamination. Persons must pay particular attention after using the washroom, washing hands, sanitizing hands.
However, despite the increase in cases, they are not reporting an increase in hospitalizations, the CMO says.
So we have not seen a surge of persons coming to hospital for acute gastroenteritis because in general, the disease is, it can be not very severe, all right? Persons may experience vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal discomfort. That lasts, between 1 to 3 days and goes away. Most individuals are able to take care of this at home, consuming fluids and all of that. So at least that is a little positive out of, all that we're seeing.
For MTV News, Troy Gill.
Meanwhile, although the Ministry of Health is reporting an increase in gastroenteritis cases, they are still reporting a decrease in the number of respiratory infections on the island. According to the acting chief medical officer in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Sean Charles, it's been a very active flu season, and statistics are now revealing a decline in the number of infections in recent times.
So we know that generally, flu season is experienced here December, January, February, and by March coming to an end, just like in the rest of the northern hemisphere. It's a seasonal pattern that is observed, and I can report that for the past 3 weeks we have noticed progressive decreases in the number of cases of acute respiratory infections. They are only slightly above the long-term average, but we have noticed progressive declines in cases.
Dr. Charles says despite the number of reported cases being on the decline, that he is still encouraging the public to not drop their guard, as there are viruses that are still in circulation on the island.
We still continue to identify important organisms, all right, important viruses as being the cause. Respiratory syncytial virus is one. COVID is still there. We've had cases of influenza, as mentioned before, and 1 or 2 other viruses. But the trend right now is towards a decrease.
Effective Tuesday, the 18th of April, the retail prices of petroleum products, including gasoline, diesel, kerosene, and liquefied petroleum gas, or LPG, commonly known as cooking gas, will be as follows. Gasoline will be moved from $15.59 a gallon to $15.95 a gallon. Diesel will be moved from $15.50 a gallon to $15.94 $12.94 a gallon, and kerosene from $12.94 to $12.22 a gallon. The 20-pound cylinder cooking gas that remains at $40, while the 100-pound cylinders will go down from $265.75 to $255.85. Now, with the bulk price moving from $2.75 to $2.65. Over in Carrier Coup and Petit Martinique, cooking gas 20-pound cylinders, those will remain at $49 a cylinder. The 100-pound cylinders will be reduced from $288.75 to $278.85. With the bulk price moving from $2.75 a pound to $2.65 a pound. Effective the 18th of January, a petrol tax of $3.50 is charged per imperial gallon of gasoline and diesel. Also effective the 18th of January this year, 2023, the price cap of $15 on petroleum products expired. The Ministry of Finance continues to monitor petroleum product prices and will intervene as necessary if prices exceed $17. The new retail prices are computed based on the average of the actual cost, freight, and insurance rates for gasoline, diesel, kerosene, and LPG, the average of actual freight and insurance rates, and the mean of Caribbean postings over the period 10th of March 2023 to the 7th of April 2023. You're tuned in to the evening edition of news. Of course, this time round for Monday. We'll have more when we return.
The first segment of the MTV Evening News came to you in association with Nexa Credit Union. With you wherever your road leads.
When you need someone to help you to your feet, I'll be that beacon to your highest peak. I'll be right next to you, no, I will never leave. Come on, take my hands, we got everything we need. Cause you can look to me, yes, I can. Whenever you're in need, yes, you can. Just call on me and I'll be on my way. I'll be by your side, never to divide. The light that shines our way. Wherever your road leads, we'll be right there with you. Wherever your road leads, we'll make your dreams come true. Next side, next side, next side, right next to you.
Nexa Credit Union, with you wherever your road leads.
With just $2, you can gift yourself with a chance to win the Lotto jackpot. Now, imagine winning the National Lotteries Authority jackpot of $66,000. Why pass upon this winning opportunity? Lotto, play and win a lot of money.
When a loved one passes on, we all need the comfort, support, and guidance of a trusted friend. You can rely on LaCroix Brothers Funeral Home. We provide a personalized professional service that exceeds all expectations. Our dedicated staff responds to your every need with the greatest detail, ensuring affordability with a variety of options. Our upgraded state-of-the-art facilities, spacious air-conditioned chapel with live internet streaming, a modern, environmentally safe crematorium, the only of its kind on island, private viewing spaces, large on-site repast center, a modern transportation fleet. Join our burial society today and make personalized arrangements for that final moment. As you prepare to enter your loved one into eternal rest, visit or call LaCroix Brothers Funeral Home and select a package that brings added comfort to the entire family. LaCroix Brothers Funeral Home and Burial Society, continuing a tradition of excellence.
Boyo, they gonna fly with kite now. The wind picking up.
I'm coming. Karim, what you doing?
Fly my kite.
Yeah, but not here. You can't fly kite near power lines, boy.
Why not? The wind good.
Because mommy say kite threads conduct electricity.
Yeah, kite. He's right. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, it can cause power outages, or even worse, it can get shocked.
Come, let's go and fly them in the pasture.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Grenlink, energizing our Grenada.
Welcome back. Bishop of the Catholic Diocese, Clyde Harvey, provided an update on plans to secure the remains of the Grenville Old Catholic Church. Over the Easter weekend, part of the bell tower collapsed, almost endangering motorists and residents in the area. According to the bishop speaking on Thursday's Good News Catholic program, the remains of the bell tower need to be removed as soon as possible. However, there are some challenges.
The big problem that we have, and I need to expand on this a bit, is that what didn't come down will not just come down. What didn't come down has to be taken down, right? Because I really hope the rest of the building doesn't collapse, because if it does collapse suddenly, I fear that something worse may happen. So it has to be taken down. It has to be taken down, I would say, by yesterday, because that's how I feel about it. But you have all kind of thing going on. One question is how best to bring it down. People are talking about using a crane with a bucket to bring it down. But if you don't bring it down properly, that very coming down could do damage to the crane and to whoever might be up in that crane.
Bishop Harvey says it's an expensive undertaking, and he's also appealing to government to act swiftly to allow for the work to begin.
You know, so these are considerations which you really have to work out. I thought we had kind of worked it out on Monday afternoon, but I'm discovering, no, the bureaucracy is at work here. All I can do publicly is to appeal to the government to let us move on this swiftly. And here, we don't have the money to do this. The estimates that I've gotten for doing it range from $120,000 to $170,000. Right? I've tried to say to people that we don't have to do all the work now. Let us just take down the tower, and then we could look at what we do with the rest, moving the rubble and all that sort of thing.
Bishop Harvey says the church depends on collections locally and does not receive substantial support from the Vatican, and as a result, the local church will have to undertake the expense. The first payment of bi-monthly salaries to government employees and pensioners began on Friday, an initiative that's intended to increase cash flow and provide a more stable and convenient source of income. However, the opposition leader, Dr. Keith Mitchell, in speaking during a recent press engagement, says he does not believe that it adds any value and can pose administrative challenges for government further down the road.
Well, I strongly advise against it, because we had looked at it and realized it could be more problem than I see no, I don't see the value. It can, in fact, provide enormous administrative problems for the staff and the service as a whole, and all the country, because you have to understand people are used to this monthly salaries. What happened was when the thing was officially advanced recently, because don't forget that came on before, and we looked at it and realized there were no real advantages for this.
According to Dr. Mitchell, it will call for significant adjustments by individuals, including by financial institutions, and he is not satisfied that people are prepared to make the necessary changes.
But let's face it, I'm used to be doing business. I get my salary end of the month. I can already calculate how I'm going to live when I pay my rent or my mortgage or when I pay my car note and so on. No, I don't have to readjust my whole processing of how I operate. I have the same amount of money. The question is, I don't know what the banks will do. Will they take, for example, you have a loan with the bank, will they take the first payment you get, if there's enough money to take that as a loan? I don't see them saying, let me take half now and half tomorrow. That don't make no sense. So I think you're going to hear a lot more. Joy, you would hear there's going to be a lot of confusion. There's going to be a lot of dissatisfaction. The government might find it might have a lot of explanation to.
Well, prior to the first payment of bi-monthly salaries, government had been hosting and facilitating sessions with several entities and financial institutions alike, including the Grenada Chamber of Industry and Commerce and the Grenada Cooperative Bank, as to the rollout of bi-monthly payments of salaries, so employees can better understand how this can improve cash flow, reduce loan interest payments, including their ability to choose how deductions are made. River Sally Saraka 2023. That remains one of the most highly anticipated events on the island, as it brings people of all ages together through food and celebration. On Friday, the MTV News team visited River Sally and spoke with patrons and organizers about the massive event. We get more on it from Tonya St. Louis Lawrence.
This activity has been taking place for more than 100 years and brought to Grenada by enslaved Africans from the west coast of Africa. When you leave here this evening, you should know the significance of the Saraka. It's consistent with the spirit of togetherness, community, sharing, all the good values that Grenada is known for.
That was Christopher De Riggs, recently appointed chair of the Grenada Cultural Foundation. According to De Riggs, having events like these is very important.
There are a number of festivals taking place in Grenada. This is not the only Saraka. There's one in La Poterie, there's one in Carriacou. And we must always ensure that these festivals are properly staged, properly documented and taught in our schools so that students will know something of their roots and culture.
Also speaking to our news team was a member of the organizing committee who said it is good to see the festival growing over the years.
This year's preparation is awesome. It's awesome. The reason why I say it's awesome because a couple of years before we had not this amount of people coming out. So this year we have a lot of people more coming out for the Saraka.
Our news team also spoke to two patrons who shared their experience.
For me, it's a long time ago. It's a few years well. I always come in here to the Saraka because it's a traditional thing, which people come from everywhere to come and see what's happening. We give them a little piece of everything, let them know the local food, like national dish, which I love the most. I love.
I'm telling you, anything we don't have on this menu here, it's because we cannot import it to Grenada. Because everything we're growing. You know, so when you come to Riverside Saraka, it's family, fun, enjoyment. It's all hard work to get this organized. You understand? And I like to tell people, you see how they on the mic and are they eating? Sorry for that. If you didn't come up, try and make it next year.
Reporting for MTV News, I am Tonya St. Louis Lawrence.
The Grenada Steel Band Association on Sunday hosted its Pan Expressions at the Tantine Netball Court. The event, sponsored by the National Lotteries Authority, saw Nexa New Dimensions walking away with the trophy and a check for $7,000. Coming in fourth with a total of 194 points was Grand Roy Pan Angels. Co-op Bank Comancheros placed third with 245 points. Second place went to Republic Bank Angel Hops with 259 points. But let's get some of the highlights from Sunday night's competition. And that's the second segment of news. We'll have regional highlights coming up.
The NLA is giving you more chances to multiply your Playway winnings by adding Multi-X to your regular Playway bets to win up to 5 times more. Imagine winning as much as $1,200 instead of $240 with a $10 Playway bet by simply adding Multi-X. Place your Playway bets from $1 to $10 or in increments on your favorite Playway symbols or numbers. Then add the Multi-X option at the same value to win 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more, or free plays. With Multi-X, you must bet the same amount wagered on your regular Playway bets for your winnings to be multiplied. Grenadians, value your dreams and win your way as much as 5 times more with Multi-X added to Playway and watch your money grow. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Co-op Bank introduces e-payments, our new e-banking feature that allows you to make payments online hassle-free.
Log in securely with biometric technology. Make recurring payments easier with automated scheduling.
Save time by paying your bills online. Transfer money to accounts at other local and regional banks. Send wire transfers on the go to anywhere in the world. Or send money to friends or family using Buddy Payment. E-payments, the swift, simple, and secure way of transferring money.
Welcome home.
At
Bailey's Funeral Home, we understand the pain and grief you experience when you suffer the loss of a loved one. For years, we have helped thousands of families get through that difficult time by providing professional funeral services to meet their unique needs. Whether your choice is cremation or burial, call us or come into our new facility on the Carenage and meet with our arrangers in a spacious and comfortable environment. Choose from a wide variety of quality coffins and caskets at prices from as low as $1,900. At Bailey's Funeral Home, we believe that no one should feel overwhelmed or anxious about funeral expenses. So when it's time to plan a funeral, join a burial society, or make pre-arrangements when service and costs matter, call Bailey's Funeral Home at 440-2558 or visit us at baileysfuneralhome.org. Bailey's Funeral Home, still providing the perfect tribute any family can afford.
Always wanted a motorcycle, but they've been too expensive. I pass in on my way to work and then boom, I see cots of motorcycles outside. I'm excited. I get up one day, I go down, I spoke to this guy. I think his name was Sheena, this short, chubby little guy, you know. I purchased 2 bikes so far. It was the 150 SL and the 250 Dragon. This blue, beautiful AKT TT Dragon, this is my baby. I call her Becky. She gives me the best ride ever. My name is Storyboy Nick and I live to ride my AKT.
Promoters, here is a chance to boost your event or fete with MTV's irresistible television advertising specials. Book now and be wowed with party deals and good advertising coverage. Call our sales and marketing department on 440-8171 or via WhatsApp on 455-5718. You can also send an email at mtvmarketinggd@gmail.com. Terms and conditions apply.
The third segment of MTV News is brought to you in association with Ariza Credit Union. Your financial freedom, your future.
Transform your life with Ariza's suite of loan products. Own your own vehicle, education, land, or home, and anchor your roots. Start living the life you deserve by applying for an Own Your Own loan at reduced interest rates. Simplify your life and consolidate all your debts by applying for a Simplify loan and open doors to new beginnings and explore more opportunities to shape your future. Call or send us a WhatsApp on 423-4987 or email us at loans@arizacu.com today to continue your journey towards financial freedom. Terms and conditions apply. Ariza Credit Union, your financial freedom, your future.
Welcome back. It's time now for the latest regional roundup with Clifton James.
Good evening with tonight's MTV Regional Roundup. I am Clifton James. Now in Jamaica, the family of Roderick O'Connor and his son Roderick Jr. of Olympic Gardens in St. Andrew are desperate to find them. They have not been seen or heard from them since Good Friday. Brooklyn White, the senior O'Connor's niece, said she last heard from her uncle on Good Friday when he called her to say that he was in Westmoreland. I asked him what he was doing in Westmoreland and he laughed. That's it, I never heard from him again, White told Loop News. She said that subsequent calls to her uncle's phone had gone unanswered and she wants to know what happened to her relatives. According to White, O'Connor has no known friends or family in Westmoreland. She also noted that his travel documents are still at home. He originates from Rodney Road, Olympic Gardens. He doesn't know anyone in Westmoreland, and if anyone was coming to him, they would come to the house. It is the first time he's done anything like this, she said. The family reported the matter to the police last Thursday. However, they were reportedly told to return on Saturday to file the missing persons report, which was done. Caribbean leaders gathered in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago on Monday to discuss the growing threat of crime in the region. The historic gathering, hosted by CARICOM, saw leaders gathered to, as Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley said, confront a common problem threatening every aspect of every individual's life in the Caribbean. Entitled The Regional Symposium, Violence as a Public Health Issue, the CARICOM Challenge, the conference emphasises the public health risk from the growing violence. In his welcoming address, Dr. Rowley said violence in the Caribbean is a public health emergency that threatens our lives, our economies, our national security, and, by extension, every aspect of our well-being. In Trinidad and Tobago in the years 2011 to 2022, we have lost and had to grieve for 5,439 lives to violent murder, largely through the use of imported firearms and ammunition. In 2011, we lost 352 lives, and by 2022, the annual count was over 600, a new record already being challenged by the murder rate for 2023. Except for COVID, in a pandemic, none of the listed dangerous diseases have taken lives like this in our population, he said. In the US Virgin Islands, the US Virgin Islands Police Department, VIDP, charged a 64-year-old man for the death of his co-worker. According to police, on April the 14th, 2023, Hubert Lee walked into the Anselmo Marshall Command Police Precinct and reported that Ensdale Joseph shot a gun at him while he was heading to work at the Grapetree Bay Hotel. He stated that he saw his co-worker in the middle of the road with a gun pointing and subsequently discharging the firearm at him, which impacted his windshield. He also stated that he drove off, turned around, and on his way out of the area, his co-worker was still standing in the road with the firearm, firing at him, the IDP alleged. Police said the 911 emergency call centre received a report that 7:40 a.m. that Joseph, 54, was struck by a white taxi van whose driver fled the scene. In documents presented to the court, prosecutors allege Lee willfully struck Joseph. Lee was charged with first-degree murder and his bail was set at $1 million. He was unable to post his bond and was booked into the John Bell Correctional Facility pending a court appearance today. The incident took the island's murder 2023 toll to 12. That was your look around the region. I am Clifton James.
This is the MTV Evening News. We'll be back with you after the break.
The third segment of MTV News was brought to you in association with Arise Credit Union. Your financial freedom, your future.
Transform your life with Arise's suite of loan products. Own your own vehicle, education, land, or home, and anchor your roots. Start living the life you deserve by applying for an Own Your Own loan at reduced interest rates. Simplify your life and consolidate all your debts by applying for a Simplify loan and open doors to new beginnings and explore more opportunities to shape your future. Call or send us a WhatsApp on 423-4987 or email us at loans@yourfinancialfreedom, your future.
You're watching the MTV Evening News. Sporting highlights are next.
The NLA is giving you more chances to multiply your Playway winnings by adding Multi-X to your regular Playway bets to win up to 5 times more. Imagine winning as much as $1,200 instead of $240 with a $10 Playway bet by simply adding Multi-X. Place your Playway bets from $1 to $10 or in increments on your favorite Playway symbols or numbers. Then add the Multi-X option at the same value to win 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more, or free plays. With Multi-X, you must bet the same amount wagered on your regular Playway bets for your winnings to be multiplied. Grenadians, value your dreams and win your way as much as 5 times more with Multi-X added to Playway and watch your money grow. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Grendek Community Partnership Initiative.
Leicester is the main fishing village in Carriacou, and we have lost a big part of the reef system around Carriacou over the years. The Grendek funding will target relocating by rock structures, and a lot of the reefs that we have lost, we can replace. So I think we're really grateful and thankful to Grenlec for coming through with that funding for us.
Grenlec, energizing our community.
Holy natural spring water is a water for every occasion. On the field of sports, at your workplace, just open the bottle and savor the pure, refreshing taste. Holy natural spring water is produced in Mama Can St. Andrews and is available in all sizes nationwide. To order, telephone 444-7654 or 533-7654. Holy natural spring water, Grenada's purest bottled water.
Co-op Bank introduces e-payments, our new e-banking feature that allows you to make payments online hassle-free.
Log in securely with biometric technology. Make recurring payments easier with automated scheduling.
Save time by paying your bills online. Transfer money to accounts at other local and regional banks. Send wire transfers on the go to anywhere in the world. Or send money to friends or family using Buddy Payment. E-payments, the swift, simple, and secure way of transferring money.
Welcome home.
Grenada national women's cricket team wins the 2023 Windward Island T20 Challenge Trophy. That story and more coming up in your sporting segment.
The MTV Evening Sports is brought to you in association with Quartz, bringing value home.
It's all about the glam with stylish new frames from Quartz Optical. Shop today for up to 50% off and pay nothing for 30 days. Book now at www.quartzoptical.com. Get the look you want at the price you need. Plus, at Quartz Optical, our eye exams are always free. So what are you waiting for? Come down and get glam. With up to 50% off selected frames. Quartz Optical. Value you can see.
A special evening to you sporting fans. Here now is Tonia St. Louis Lawrence with your highlights.
Good evening, sporting fans. The U.S. Embassy Grenada, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports and Culture, held a skateboarding clinic for skateboarders 11 years and older at the Youth Center in Montrouge from the 14th to the 16th of April. Principal Officer for the U.S. Embassy in Grenada, Francis Herrera, said there is always space to introduce something new for the youth, and skateboarding is the first step in that direction.
There's many different areas of sports diplomacy. It could be basketball, it can be surfing. I mean, there's so many different areas that it covers, but seeing that this is something that's new and that's enjoyed here, I think it's great. I would like to see if it's a possibility for them to have their own skateboarding association. That could bring even more opportunities here to them, and I already had some interest in that just from yesterday, people saying, what can we do to have a skateboarding association here? I got some great recommendations, and hopefully we can move forward with that as well and start this kind of opportunity here.
MTV Sports also spoke with two of the skateboarders, Natalie Williams and Adrian Sloboth, from the U.S. government.
One of the key things is them just understanding that they're in control of their board. They're not chasing after it. It's not really a foreign object. Anybody who can walk up a flight of stairs should be able to step on top of a skateboard and being able to ride. And that's what we're showing them, and that's what we're getting done here. Now, my other part is I'm a professor at the University of Southern California and a Yale Visiting Fellow for Race, Culture, and Community. And what I teach them besides learning how to skateboard is that there are other avenues within skateboarding culture that they might get excited about.
A lot of these kids didn't even start skating until yesterday, and they're very excited about it, and it's awesome to see. I think like maybe around 30, maybe more. It seems like a lot because we're just indoors, but A lot of kids. It's definitely a good turnout for this clinic, for sure.
The St. Andrews Cricket League Premier League games continue over the weekend on the 15th and 16th on the St. Andrew Anglican Secondary School grounds and the Monthorn playing field, also at the Union playing field. Captain of the Grand Bacolet Strikers is Andy Ulrich.
Unity, cooperation from the teams that we have played thus far, I have no complaint. It's been going pretty smooth. Teams oftentimes talks about bad experiences they had, but I can't say that. We had really good games. In terms of victory for us, so far, I had one draw game. Most of my games was lost due to most of my players played under 19, so I didn't have full team. So that's the response. Well, for the remaining part of the competition, I'm hoping to see if I could pull off this game and the one to come, and that will put me in a good position. And hopefully, if I could start winning some games in the second round, so that could bring me back up to at least to maybe top or second position of the competition.
MTV Sports also spoke with Shaman Lewis, a representative from Monthorn Youngsters.
For the tournament, we start up pretty much more in the bowling aspect. We have, I would say, 95% of the players are experienced bowling. And in the batting, I would say we need to work out a lot still. We still have a lot to do. The competition is going pretty good. Just, my players just need to get more serious into it to be out there, because cricket for the youngsters right now there is a lot out there too for them to perform to be up a higher level. Well, for me, I'm looking to come out at I would say in the top 3, because we have it and my performance for the team is coming up there, and we're working to push forward for everything with the youngsters again. Yeah, because they're doing pretty good.
The Grenada National Women's Cricket Team won the 2023 Windward Islands T20 Challenge at the Darren Sammy Cricket Grounds in St. Lucia. Afi Fletcher, Karen Noel and Cassie Williams, announced as a reserve player, are on the Windward Islands women's squad. Afi Fletcher scored the most runs, 214 across both formats, 50 and 20 overs, in the 2023 Windward Islands Cricket Board Women's Tournament. Her best score was 114 off 60 balls against the St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Afi was selected to captain the Windward Islands women's team. Taylor Dixon took 7 catches to earn the individual award for best fielder, most catches across both formats, in the Windward Islands tournament. Meanwhile, the Grenada Under-19 team departed the island on Sunday for St. Lucia to participate in the Winlots Inc. Super 6 Under-19 tournament. The Classic Lighting Caribbean National Netball Tournament continued on Saturday at the Tantine Netball facility. The results of both games are as follows. In Games 1 B Division, St. George's University Blue Dynamites led in the first quarter 7 goals to 6. At the end of the second quarter, the Sprangs Queen's Park Rangers team took the lead 14 goals to 10. And at the end of the third quarter, they maintained the lead 22 goals to 16. At the end of the final whistle, the score being 31 goals to 22 in favor of the Sprangs Queen's Park Rangers. This is their second win of the 2 games played thus far. In the second game in the male division, the Top Strikers male team led the first quarter of the game 9-5. At the end of the halftime break, they maintained the lead 18-12. And at the end of the third quarter, they led 26-16. At the end of the final quarter of the game, they won convincingly with a score of 40 goals to 18. SJC will play Police Sports Club in the B Division, and Jet Setters will play Top Strikers Sports Club in the A Division on Tuesday at the Tantine Netball facility. That's it for sports. I am Tonya St. Louis Lawrence.
Thank you, Tonio, for the latest sporting highlights there. And viewers, we'll have the public forecast information, then a recap of the major stories when we return.
The MTV Evening Sports was brought to you in association with Quartz, bringing value home.
MTV Weather Report comes to you in association with Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Our future is promising. We are strong. Together, we are Grenada.
Good Monday evening, viewers, and back with the nighttime weather forecast and meteorologist Wayne Williams. Partly sunny, hazy and windy conditions dominated the weather over the extreme southern Caribbean, but islands further north, one or two small patches of clouds there. That area of clouds coming from mostly over South America, strong up-level winds blowing it across our area. We're going to see that continuing for the next 24 hours or so. The haze is making an appearance again as expected. It is moving into the extreme southern Caribbean. We're already seeing some deterioration in visibility as it moves, and it's going to get a bit denser in about the next 2 days. So by Wednesday we should be seeing some more denser haze. Right now, the upper-level clouds continue to move across the extreme southern Caribbean, bringing cooling conditions with it. Daytime temperatures climb just around 30, between 29 and 30. They're not rain-bearing, so we shouldn't be seeing any significant rainfall from them. The forecast for Monday night is for those cloudy conditions to continue. Winds would be easterly between 5 and 15 miles per hour. Minimum temperature of around 24, about a 10% chance of some brief inland sprinkles. Nothing major there. The moon, it's going to rise tomorrow morning at 4:43 and set in the afternoon at 5:08. Tuesday will bring partly sunny and windy conditions. Winds remain easterly between 10 and 22 miles per hour, maybe 1 or 2 higher gusts during the daytime. Moderate seas with 4 to 6 foot waves. Sunrise is 5:53, sunset 6:19. Temperature will climb to around 30 and feel like 32. Generally fair conditions in Port of Spain, partly sunny in Bridgetown, mostly sunny in both Kingston and Miami, partly cloudy and mostly cloudy in New York and London respectively. The mostly fair conditions would continue with that haze from Wednesday onwards into the weekend. Look for the haze to intensify by that time as it moves across the Eastern Caribbean. Temperatures will remain around 30, and by Wednesday, by Thursday into Friday, we should see a little bit more warming again. That's it for me for Monday night, folks. Have yourself a great night. Remember, you can join me again right here on Tuesday.
MTV Weather Report was brought to you in association with Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
And now to end the news, a recap of the headlines. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell has highlighted the need for a more serious approach to domestic violence. Health officials are continuing to report a significant surge in gastroenteritis cases. Next, New Dimensions. Congratulations to them. They are the 2023 Pan Expression Champions. So congratulations in our sporting segment, this time round to Grenada National Women's Cricket Team. They have won the 2023 Windward Island T20 Challenge Trophy. We've had details to those and other stories, a look to at the public forecast information. And so now, on behalf of the news and production departments and Tony Julian, we all thank you for viewing and wish you a good night.
At Bailey's Funeral Home, we understand the pain and grief you experience when you suffer the loss of a loved one. For years, we have helped thousands of families get through that difficult time by providing professional funeral services to meet their unique needs. Whether your choice is cremation or burial, call us or come into our new facility on the Carenage and meet with our arrangers in a spacious and comfortable environment. Choose from a wide variety of quality coffins and caskets at prices from as low as $1,900. At Bailey's Funeral Home, we believe that no one should feel overwhelmed or anxious about funeral expenses. So when it's time to plan a funeral, join a burial society, or make pre-arrangements when service and costs matter, call Bailey's Funeral Home at 440-2558 or visit us at baileysfuneralhome.org. Bailey's Funeral Home, still providing the perfect tribute any family can afford.
Jonathan Richards of Edward Street, Guelph, St. John, passed away on Tuesday the 21st of March at the age of 28. Left to mourn are his parents Wendy Richards in Grenada and Clive Romaine in the US. Adoptive parents Karen Richards and Anthony Robertson. Close companion Petal Hosford in the UK. Sisters Antonia, Rosaria and Brittany Richards. Brothers O'Shane, Romeo, Rommel, Bradley Richards and Garth Thomas. Nephew Secron Richards. Godparents Denise in the US and Samantha. Grandmother Claire Romaine. Aunts Shirley Ann in the US and Jenny Sally Ann in the UK and Lynthia Phillip, Claudine and Carla Romaine in the US. Uncles Sal Richards and Joe Romaine in the US. Cousins Cody, Troy, Zakim, Swan, Wilma, Ann, Wilbert, Sky, and many other relatives. Cleona Smith and family, Madonna Joseph and family, June Thomas and family, the Romaine family of Victoria, Miss Agatha Clark and family, the Wilson family from Carriacou, friends Lyrene, other relatives and friends too numerous to mention. The funeral for the late Jonathan Richards of Edward Street, Guelph, St. John, will be on Tuesday the 18th of April at 1:30. The funeral service will be at the St. Peter's Roman Catholic Church, Guelph, St. John. Interment will be at the Douglaston Cemetery. Funeral arrangements have been entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home.
Nathaniel Fitzroy Greaves of Montmort St. George died on Monday, April 10th, 2023, at the age of 75. Left to mourn are his brothers David Greaves and Paul Greaves, sister Pamela Greaves, brother-in-law Fred Greaves, sister-in-law Margaret Greaves, aunt Lynette Lohoy, uncle Errol Greaves, nephews Patrick, Anthony and Richard Greaves, David Greaves Jr. and Paul Greaves Jr., nieces Ingrid Blackwell, Maria Graves-Kaczewski, Amanda Johansson, and Renee Strazzari. Grandnephews Nathan, Michael, Ethan, Marlon and Aidan Graves, David Graves Jr., Rai Strazzari, and Brandon Monroe. Grandnieces Sydney, Isabella, Ebony, Delilah and Serena Graves, Victoria Blackwell, Olivia Kaczewski, Willa Strazzari and Darian Lesbia Graves, Madison and Emily Johnson. Other relatives and friends including Dennis and Anne Graves, Paulette Harris, Leanna and Larissa Tilbury, and Devon and Rachel Duncan. The funeral of the late Nathaniel Fitzroy Greaves of Montmort St. George will take place on Tuesday, 18th April at 2 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the Montmort's Anglican Church, and interment will be at the Montmort Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home.
Abigail Mary Sandy, née Mitchell, of the Villa St. George's, died on Monday the 20th of March at the age of 84. She was the mother of Ian Sandy, Dr. Betty Ann Sandy Pivot, Fiona Michelle Sandy, grandmother of Tristan Pivot, Aidan Pivot, Gabrielle Sandy, and Abriella Sandy, mother-in-law of Brian Pivot and Dr. Nadia Francis Sandy, sister of Winston Macaulay, sister-in-law of Rita Macaulay, aunt of Gary Macaulay, George Macaulay, Mark Macaulay, and Randy Macaulay, all residing in Canada. Aunt-in-law of Colin Sandy, cousin of Oliver Mitchell and family, Marilyn Joseph and family, Ferren Lowe and family, the Pascal family residing in Canada and in Barbados. Other relatives and friends, including Grace Ronan, the Cox family of Belmont, the Pivot and Francis families of St. Paul's, Brenda Peters, Brenda Fletcher, Histelina Seeley, Margaret Spencer, Phyllis Gomes, Eunice Sandy David, and the Sandy family of Happy Hill. Her caretakers Jane Phillip, Wendy Thomas, and the staff of Connection Care at Home Agency, the Anglican community of St. George, and Dr. Emma Harry Thompson. The funeral service for the late Abigail Sandy of the Villa St. George's will take place on Wednesday the 19th of April at 12 noon. The funeral service will be at the St. George's Anglican Church, Church Street, St. George's. Interment will be at the St. George's Center Cemetery. Funeral arrangements have been entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home.
Darren Tyrrell Jude Kurt Edghill, also known as D. Block, of Grand Mall St. George, who resided in Wallisburg and Walpole Island, Ontario, Canada, transitioned on Sunday 3rd April 2022 at the age of 33. He was the son of Tessa and Brian Gittins and Dexter Sylvester, grandson of Edith Phillip, godson of Primrose George and John Edwards, husband of Alishani Longboot Edghill, son-in-law of Dexter Blackbird and Rhonda Longboot, father of Davion, Janaya, Caton and Jamedi, brother of Tyrese, Jalen and Anaya Gittins, Peter, Darren and Amara Sylvester, Dylan Paul and Phil Henderson, uncle of Valencia Gittins, nephew of Sebastian Bunton and Berna Edghill, Crispin and Cheryl Edghill, Deborah Patrick Edghill, Martin Gittins, Wade Phillip, Beverly and Colin Castell, Myrna and Bernard Joseph, Eric Andrew, Nathalie Richardson, Vivian J.R., and Kester Sylvester. Many other relatives and friends in Canada, the United States, Trinidad, and Grenada, the Gittins, Nicholas, Charles, Edghill, Pascal, Douglas, Griffith, Goddard, Sylvester, Modeste, Clark, Ato, Williams, Blackbird, Andrew, Toussaint, Nicholas and Oliver families, and the pastor and members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Canada. The celebration of the life of the late Darren Tyrrell Jude Kurt Edghill, also known as D. Block, of Grand Mall St. George, who resided in Wallisburg and Walpole Island, Ontario, Canada, will take place on Thursday, April 20th at 5 p.m. Service will be held at the Grand Mall Seventh-day Adventist Church. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Dane Bartholomew Hayes, also known as Ashton and Tallboy, of Caliste St. George, a former employee of the Grand Anse Food Fair and the St. George's University School of Medicine, passed away on Saturday 25th March 2023 at the age of 60. Left to mourn are his sisters Glenda, Marcel and Marcia in Grenada, Denise and Jacinta in the USA, brother Chiron in the USA, son John Hayes in the US, many nephews and nieces including Larry Roberts, Brensley Thompson, Dr. Sean Charles, Audie and Jerry Hayes, Diane, Cindy and Daniel John, sister and brother-in-law Joy Thompson and Rob Williams in the USA. Other relatives and friends including the Hayes family of Pedmotar, the Dubiset family of Caliste and Grand Anse, the Bell family of Woburn, the Christopher family of Concord, members of the Caliste Berean Bible Church, the staff of the Grand Anse Food Fair, the doctors and nurses of the male surgical ward at the General Hospital, the boys by Anicetta's shop, and friends and neighbors of Caliste and surrounding areas. The funeral of the late Dane Bartholomew Hayes, also known as Ashton and Tallboy, of Caliste St. George, will take place on Thursday, April 20th at 1 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the Grand Anse Baptist Church, Morris Bishop Highway, according to Barian rites, followed by private interment. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Edwards Chase, also known as Robinson Redhead, Zip and Barber, of Grenvilleville, who resided at Beauséjour St. George, passed away on Sunday 19th March 2023 at the age of 78. He was the husband of Nestor McQueen Chase, father of Marvelyn James, Michael, David, Peter and Suzanne Charles, Rokim, Ian, Indra, Fiona, Terina, Emond, Shamal and Raquel McQueen. Brother of Alistair Chase, Joycelyn, Dennis, Frankie and Fitzroy Augustine. Grandfather of 32, including Marvin James, Jaquan Frank, Phoebe Charles, Delon Charles, Shakira Maitland, Jonathan and Tyrone McQueen. Great-grandfather of Jaden James and Omari Joseph. Uncle of 28, including Linton Chase, Errol Johnson, Elisha Mitchell, Georgie Redhead and Asa Chase. Father-in-law of Arnott James, Stacey Charles, Pauline Redhead, Melissa McQueen and Miranda Gill. Many cousins, other relatives and close friends including Romeo and Twine, the Chase, Charles, Redhead, Johnson, Mitchell, Hilaire and McQueen families of Happy Hill, Beauséjour and Concord, the pastor and members of the Beauséjour Seventh-day Adventist Church, and friends and neighbors of Beauséjour and surrounding areas. The funeral of the late Edwards Chase, also known as Robinson Redhead, Zip and Barber, of Grenvilleville, who resided at Beauséjour St. George, will take place on Thursday, April 20th at 1 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the Beauséjour Seventh-day Adventist Church, and interment will be at the Top Fence Cemetery, Happy Hill. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Magdalene Claire Charles, also known as Tanty Claire, of Bellevue St. George, a well-known market vendor, died on Sunday, 26 March 2023, at the age of 82. Left to mourn her two sons, Louis Spare in the USA and James Edwards, also known as Major, an employee at Grenlec. Brothers Fabian and George Charles in the UK and Aben Charles in Grenada. Sister Juliana Charles in the USA. Several grandchildren in the USA and Grenada, including Ian, Kurlan, Kevin, Akim, Kenroll, Sonaika, Anaya, Kiana, Kenisha, Rianne, Rihanna, and Shona. Many nieces and nephews, including the Marquez family of St. John. Caregiver Marilyn Edwards. Other relatives and friends, including neighbors and friends of Bellevue, Beaulieu, and surrounding areas, and market vendors at the St. George's Market. The funeral service for the late Magdalene Claire Charles, also known as Tanty Claire, of Bellevue St. George, will take place on Thursday, April 20th at 2 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the Our Lady Help of Christians RC Church, Beaulieu St. George, and entombment will be at the Beaulieu Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Lincoln St. Bernard Williams, also known as Linky and Boots, of Hermitage St. Patrick, who resided at Frequenty and Fenton Village Grandon St. George, retired Sergeant of Police and recipient of the Royal Victoria Medal, passed away on Saturday 25th March 2023 at the age of 76. He was the husband of Catherine Williams, also known as Glennis, father of Valerie and Winston Andrew, Carol Thomas, Lindy Ann Roberts, Betty Ann Marast Miller, Lisa Phillip, Ernie and Kimon Caliste, Kellen John, Lindonna Elcock, Devon Ganes, Linky and Linksia Edwards, and Nikita John Logan. Grandfather of 14, great-grandfather of 3, brother of Carmen Williams in the USA, Lynthia Williams, Cynthia and Veronica Williams in Canada, Denise and Rachel Mason in Grenada, Clary in the USA, Debbie Burke in Grenada, Carly and Randolph Williams and Martin Mason in Grenada, Cheryl and Avril and Johnny Mason in the USA. Father-in-law of Keisha Johnson, brother-in-law of 7, nephew of Agatha Dorset, also known as Cicely, Evadne Charles and Lennox Edgar, uncle of 114. Many other relatives and friends, including Veronica Thomas and family, the Mason family of Hermitage, the Williams family of Moya, the Edgar family of La Poterie, Pastor Ashley and Carmen Roberts, Leslie Knights and family, Danielle Searles and family, Mr. Mark, Bill, Man and Marky, Esther, Dawn, Miss Lynette, the Samuel family of Hermitage, Cradle Duncan, and friends and neighbours of Hermitage and Grand Arms St. George. The funeral of the late Lincoln St. Bernard Williams, also known as Linky and Boots, of Hermitage St. Patrick, who resided at Frequenty and Fenton Village, Grand Arms St. George, will take place on Thursday, April 20th at 12 noon. Funeral service will be held at the Springs Open Bible Church, and interment will be at the Grand Arms Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Eslyn Harford Otway of St. James St. Andrew, who resided in Puerto Rico, passed away on Thursday, 13th April 2023, at the age of 75. She was the daughter of Linda and Leonard Harford, also known as Mr. Duggan, mother of Zilla, June, Andrea, Jackie, and Ernie Jr., all in the USA, grandmother of 7, great-grandmother of 2, sister of Sister Marjorie Harford Pariag, Patrice Mavis Mahone, Carol Mitchell, Richie, Roland and Cicely Harford in Grenada, Jean Carson and Joyce in the UK, Edith in Canada, Sharon, Nell and Alan in the USA. Aunt of many, including Kenny in the USA and Leslie and Roberts in Grenada. Other relatives and close friends including the Harford, Pariag, Chetram, Elahi and Dixon families, and friends and neighbors of St. James, Upper Capitol, and surrounding areas. The funeral service for the late Eslyn Harford Otway of St. James St. Andrew, who resided in Puerto Rico, will take place on Thursday, April 20th in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Elizabeth Monica Quashie, also known as Monica of Brunswick, Carriacou, passed away on Friday, 7th April 2023, at the age of 70. She was the mother of Stanley, Leslie, Caslin, Marcia, Don, Kurt, Curtis, and Kerwin, grandmother of 15 including Derek, Jady, Shania, Chaddy, Reese, Kent, KJ, Monique, Courtney, and Taffy, sister of Victoria McFarlane, also known as Fanny, Mary Phillip, also known as Vicky, Lynette, Louise, Val, Valerie, Maureen, David McFarlane, also known as Puello, and Michael. Aunt of many, too numerous to mention. Cousin of many, including Gila, Erlin, Bernadine, and Na. Niece of many, too numerous to mention. Many other relatives and close friends, including the Quashie families, the Lawrence, Flary, McFarlane, Caesar, Stanislaus, Jewett, and Michael families of St. Vincent, Patrick Cajo, Desir, Lison, Tico, Winnie and Roy Delisle and family, and Humphrey, Kelly and Compton, and Nurse Mendez, and friends and neighbours of Brunswick, Six Roads, Hillsborough, Prospect Hall, and Monkroyal Carriacou, Petite Martinique, and Grenada, the doctors, nurses, and staff of the Princess Royal Hospital, and the Hillsborough and Leicester Health Clinics, and surrounding areas too numerous to mention. Ex-wife of Wilmoth Jewett, also known as Marley. The funeral of the late Elizabeth Monica Quashie, also known as Monica, of Brunswick, Carriacou, will take place on Friday, 21st April at 1 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the graveside, according to Seventh-day Adventist rites, and interment will be at the Brunswick Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Margaret Mapson of Bailey's Bacalet, who resided at Petite Bucaille and Stone Street, Westerhall, St. David, passed away on Thursday, March 16th, 2023, at the age of 75. She was the mother of Bernadette, Joan, Rosalind, Suzanne, Gary, Hayden, Dwayne and Jeffrey Mapson, and Gladys Horsford, sister of Joyce Tellisford and Septimus Gilbert, niece of Dorothy Charles, grandmother of 29, including Bernadine Edwards in the USA, Vernis Phillip, Emily Beaumont in England, and Alex Mapson, great-grandmother of 31, aunt of many, close cousin of Dion Francis and Shabba Francis, mother-in-law of Michael Horsford, great-in-law of Angus Edwards, Wayne Phillip, and Nisha Mapson. Many cousins, other relatives and close friends, including the Francis and Hippolyte families of Mango Hole, the Mapson family of Birchgrove, Seam Lewis and family, Elizabeth Barry, Irma Jacob, Mr. Herbert Simmons, the pastor and members of the Wester Hall New Testament Church of God, the pastor and members of the Sanctuary of Praise Mary and St. George, and friends and neighbours of Stone Street and Petit Buckeye, Wester Hall St. David, and surrounding areas. The funeral service for the late Margaret Mapson of Bailey's Bacalet, who resided at Petit Buckeye and Stone Street, Wester Hall St. David, will take place on Monday, April 24th at 1 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the Lucas Street New Testament Church of God, and interment will be at the Wilberforce Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Joseph Clark, also known as Joe, of Cherry Hill St. George, who resided in the USA and Mount Granby St. John, passed away on Monday, March 20th, 2023, at the age of 73. The funeral arrangements for the late Joseph Clark, also known as Joe, of Cherry Hill St. George, who resided in the USA and at Mount Granby St. John, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Willa Lessie of Molyneux St. George died on Wednesday, April 12, 2023, at the age of 84. The funeral arrangements for the late Willa Lessie of Molyneux St. George will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Mary Maguire, also known as Elsa of New Hampshire St. George, passed away on Saturday, April 8, 2023, at the age of 85. The funeral arrangements for the late Mary Maguire, also known as Elsa of New Hampshire St. George, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Althea Muller, also known as Moy of Clergy St. John, passed away on Tuesday, 11th April 2023, at the age of 72. The funeral arrangements for the late Althea Muller, also known as Moy of Clergy St. John, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home.
Andre Dexter Johnson, also known as Swan Boy of Mary Ann St. George, passed away on Sunday the 9th of April at the age of 56. The funeral arrangements for the late Andre Dexter Johnson, also known as Swan Boy of Mary Ann St. George, will be given on a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements have been entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Clinton Cosmos Alexander of Parade and Laborie St. George, who resided in the United States of America, died on Sunday the 9th of April in the United States at the age of 88. Funeral arrangements for the late Clinton Cosmos Alexander will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements have been entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Talik Wilfana Laborde, also known as Wendy and Shortstuff of Trinidad, who resided in Montoux, St. George, died on Tuesday the 11th of April at the age of 33. We'll have funeral arrangements for the late Talik Wilfana Laborde of Trinidad, who resided in Montoux, St. George, in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements have been entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home.
Abraham Rasher, also known as Satan of Grove St. John, passed away on Friday, 7th April 2023, at the age of 71. The funeral arrangements for the late Abraham Rasher, also known as Satan of Grove St. John, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Jadine Emmons Bartholomew of Happy Hill, who resided at Montparnasse St. George, owner of J&J Printers, passed away on Wednesday, April 5th, 2023, at the age of 36. The funeral arrangements for the late Jadine Emmons Bartholomew of Happy Hill, who resided at Montparnasse St. George, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Samuel Everard Holder of Marigot St. John passed away on Friday 24th March 2023 at the age of 94. The funeral arrangements for the late Samuel Everard Holder of Marigot St. John will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Eric George Williams of Woburn, who resided at River Road Housing Scheme, passed away on Saturday 1st April 2023 at the age of 84. The funeral arrangements for the late Eric George Williams of Woburn, who resided at River Road Housing Scheme St. George, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Madge Carmen Narayan, also known as Clary of Industry St. Mark, who resided at Montu St. George, passed away on Monday 27th March 2023 at the age of 54. The funeral arrangements for the late Madge Carmen Narayan, also known as Clary of Industry St. Mark, who resided at Montu St. George, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. David Augustine Charles, also known as Cooks and Elliot, of Mamacan St. Andrew, passed away on Thursday 23rd March 2023 at the age of 71. The funeral arrangements for the late David Augustine Charles, also known as Cooks and Elliot, of Mamacan St. Andrew, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home.
Gracelyn Samuel, also known as Samuel, Nursey, and Graceau of Black Bay St. John, passed away on Tuesday, 28 March, at the age of 60. The funeral arrangements of the late Gracelyn Samuel, also known as Samuel, Nursey, and Graceau of Black Bay St. John, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements have been entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home.
Carl Wilson of Springs, who resided at Point Celine St. George, proprietor of Point Celine Hotel or Fox Inn, passed away on Tuesday 21st March 2023 at the age of 77. The funeral arrangements for the late Carl Wilson of Springs, who resided at Point Celine St. George, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home.
The management and staff of MTV extend deepest condolences to those of you whose loved ones have passed on. Thank you for watching.
And verse 13, blessed is the day that died in the Lord. If your loved one died in the